Hello, everyone. This is All Things HR, the place where we provide expert perspectives on all HR matters in the workplace, as well as strategies on how to build a successful career, business, and personal life. I'm Oluyemisi Wole-OJOMO, and today we'll be looking at the global labor market. I have with me a labor market expert. Over the years, we noticed that there have been lots of changes in the trends, practices, and shifts in the global labor market. So today, I have the president of the World Employment Confederation, as well as a global world of work executive. She'll be providing expert perspectives on the trends, practices, and the future of the labor market with us today. So join me in welcoming BETTINA Schallerer Bossert. Welcome, BETTINA.
Thank you so much, Oluyemisi. What a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for this invitation.
Thank you. Thank you so
Indeed. So I
much.
am zooming in today from Brussels, by the way, saying hello to your
Yes.
constituents. But thank you again for the opportunity to share some insights. And I obviously brought my crystal ball as well, so I'm ready for all the questions on the future as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, so I know that a lot of viewers will be wondering what the World Employment Confederation is all about. Can you tell us a bit first about yourself and what the WEC is all about?
With pleasure. So I am indeed a government affairs geek, as I like to say it. I have always worked in the space of relations with policymakers and have entered the area of labor market and employment, talent, jobs issues 13 years ago when I joined a private company called the Adecco Group. The Adecco Group is the world's leading provider of HR, job, and talent solutions. It's a company that is headquartered in Switzerland. And so in my role in this relation with government, I have the pleasure of interacting with stakeholders that look at the framework that is created for businesses to operate in. Of course, we as a private solutions company provide everything that workers need and everything that companies need related to jobs. And as you can imagine, in many countries, well, this is highly regulated. Very often because there is a big need and ambition, of course, to protect the workers, which is what this is about. Now, World Employment Confederation is the organization that advocates on behalf of all the companies in this private employment services field, and that as the voice of the industry makes sure that it also keeps policymakers up to date on the latest developments. And of course, it's the organization that participates in all those key negotiations, working groups, and policy-making spaces for the world of work.
Okay, so is the work you do at WEC, is it focused only on Europe or it cuts across the globe?
I'm glad you asked that because World Employment Confederation is a global organization. It is active in 50 countries. We're looking to be active in more countries, but the requirements are actually very stringent to become a member. There are two types of members. One is the companies themselves. So we have the largest employers, private employment services companies in the world, but we also have national federations. And there we do have around 30 members out of 50 who are based in Europe, absolutely. And it's the European Union for one, but then it's also the likes of, the UK, Switzerland, Turkey. They're also part of Europe. And then the other members are the United States, Canada, Latin America, and we have Asia. Unfortunately, in Africa, our footprint is still bleak.
Yeah.
Currently, South Africa is a member. Very proud about that, and actually, we will, as a community, be over in South Africa this October to look at the situation in South Africa and in Africa. We're also in Northern Africa, but those 50 members reflect the global scope of this organization. Because talent, jobs, employment, of course, it is an issue, and it is an amazing industry, if I can say so, all over the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. Don't worry. We're looking to have you come into West Africa, and we're happy
Yes,
to
yes.
welcome you. Yeah, into
We'd
West
like
Africa.
to, we know that companies are active, but
Yeah.
again, very often there is no national federation. Again, there's no organized sector. And then, as we said, we've got codes of conduct, we've got certain preconditions, but we would be delighted to welcome more African members. So who knows? Maybe after this session, we will get a few
Yes.
contacts.
Contacts. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so looking at the labor market globally, we have seen in recent times a lot of job cuts. I mean, we yeah, we talk about Facebook, we talk about Facebook meaning Meta, Google recently, SAP Salesforce, the giants cutting their workforce. I mean, can you speak to it? What would you say has caused this? And do you see
Yes.
this going further? How far
Yes.
away do you think we are from the end?
Oh, we are only at the beginning, and the beginning of a journey, which is actually a great journey when you look at the labor markets, because I've got a very positive outlook on work and on jobs in general. I actually think that there's going to be lots of work going forward and lots of jobs. Now, of course, we always have to differentiate one, on which part of the world we're talking about, and then two, of course, also with regards to sectors. And maybe let me there pick up your excellent starting question. All the companies you mentioned are companies in the tech sector. And yes, I do confirm that, well, the media has just recently let us know that in this specific tech sector, there have been all these cuts. Now, the way that we see this is that these are actually adjustments that, in a way, are normal because they follow what was an absolute explosion in hiring that happened in the context of COVID, where those companies actually, well, needed more people and also created an economic outlook for the growth that they thought would be sustained because the scenarios were built, similar to those COVID years. But now, as luckily, things they haven't, well, they are stabilizing, but basically the pendulum has shifted again back towards different needs in terms of tech solutions as well. Well, these companies are seeing that they went a little bit overboard, and now this is being rectified. Now, what I can tell you is that there are plenty other sectors where there is a huge demand exactly for those type of tech talents, exactly with those type of tech capabilities. So, and of course, I respect every one of the people that was let go, and the hope of obviously having a career. It's, I don't want to give any names here, but in that tech industry was of course great. But what I can say is, again, if there's a certain flexibility, and if people are creative and also ready to work in other environments, in other industries, there are plenty jobs. As a matter of fact, the picture that we have in many countries is one of huge talent shortage. There are not enough workers in the labor market right now. There is a huge demand for people. Of course, it's a demand for specific profiles, and I'm sure we will talk about one of
Yeah.
those, which is digital, right? These days, I don't know any business or any industry that is not in transformation because of digital, right?
Digital,
There's
yes.
in every sector there are these adjustments that need to be made, and all the businesses and all the organizations are looking for people who have these digital skills. So that's one. The second that we see in more and more countries, and yes, it's for sure European now, is that this transformation is also linked to the greening of the economy, as we say. So it's this ecological transformation, the shift that companies need to do just to respond to climate change. The fact that entire industries here again, like let's say the automotive sector, we always pick the automotive sector, but obviously shifting from petrol to batteries or to hydrogen. So there are skills required in that context that are not readily available, and again, there's a lot of shortage there. Maybe lastly, on this one, again, we're seeing a lot of jobs available. I think just to respect again your question, because there are, of course, again, still too many
So
countries.
then new jobs that are being created based on the shifts in the global market.
There are definitely new jobs.
New jobs,
Absolutely,
yes.
absolutely. But there are still, and you're right, and I want to highlight that there's too many countries where people are not getting jobs, and actually too many countries where the proportion of young people who are ready to enter the labor market, they don't get opportunities. There are no jobs for young people, right? And there, what, of course, my work is to a large extent is to talk to these countries and to say, you need to adapt your frameworks. You need to make sure that you create contracts and, of course, opportunities for people to enter the labor market. And I'll finish on this one here. In the world, on average, 60% of people are in what we call the informal economy. They're on the black market. They're in jobs that are not remunerated. There is no contract. There is no option to build a future. I find this unacceptable in our days. And so a big part of the work that we're doing is saying, okay, let's formalize, let's create contracts, let's not only talk about it, but create the instruments politically so that we can get people into the labor market and therefore also reduce those unemployment numbers.
Okay, so pivoting on this one, we've said that there are new jobs that are being created and the old jobs are definitely being reinvented.
Yeah.
So, as a labor market expert, what kind of skills should professionals have in order to future proof their careers, so to say, so that they are always readily available for the market to pick them? Or as we're going into the future, as you look into your crystal ball, like you said,
Yeah, which I got
skills,
here. Woo, it's sparkling.
yeah, what skills should we have in place or should we acquire so that we're ready for the future or and available for the market?
Yeah. Well, Oluyemisi, this is not the $1 million question. This is the $1 billion question, right? But no, I mean, this is exactly what every company wants to know. Every also actually government wants, or at least should know, because you want to create those training programs and those training paths. So look, I'm going to make one comment actually on this one. First of all, the more digital things become, the more actually the person, the human factor is important. So this might sound, I hope it doesn't sound contradictory, but it might sound counterintuitive. But there's clearly skills like, emotional intelligence. We talk about the need for cultural intelligence, even. We talk about, importantly, skills which are critical thinking, judgment and complex decision making, empathy, creativity. Now, probably all of that sounds a bit odd, right? Because we talk about digital, but all of these are
Yeah,
skills that, and by the way, they can all be learned. Huh? So this is also something that I can confirm. If anybody of you out there, well, probably everybody thinks I got this, so I'm fine. I'm ready for the future. But maybe if one or the other has a little doubt, all these emotional and again complex decision making judgment, they can all be learned, and they need to be there because the way we see jobs evolving, right, there's going to be a lot of tasks that will be automated, or where artificial intelligence takes away layers that were more transactional. So we don't need talent to do that, but we need talent to have the capability, again, to judge, to think, oh, is what I'm getting here, does that make sense? And then again, there's going to be much more working in teams, much more working in dispersed teams, much more, of course, doing what we are doing, people together. So you need this also human capability to work there. Look, digital skills, yeah. I mean, it's you need to be able to switch on. It's a digital literacy, right? That obviously you need as well. You need to be able to well, know how to switch on the computer, start the programs,
yeah,
then navigate your way through, if it's Zoom or WebEx or whatever. All of these things are an absolute basis. That is true, but more and more, and that can be learned quickly. It's how to work again in collaboration, and there's all these fantastic project management tools, where you can all, independently of where you sit in Lagos, you sit in Brussels like me right now, you sit in Paris, together we can work on the same document. That is all possible. Now, again, let's not forget, my main comments here were, I guess, directed towards jobs in the services sector, right? But the digital skills, of course, again, are in all the sectors. So if I take the restoration sector, more and more these days, and we have huge shortages in most parts of the world. We don't have enough people who are working in restaurants, in hotels, in catering, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
more and more, there's restaurants, and I'm sure you have this, and you've been to those, where you get there, you have to scan the menu, right? And then
yeah,
the
yeah,
waiter comes and has this almost, iPad or iPhone looking thing, and then you
yeah.
types in the order, etc. Well, that's also a digital skill, right? But it's now in
Service
HoReCa.
hospitality industry.
Right. The same healthcare sector, for example. I mean, this is another sector where there's huge shortages, huge shortages. The world all over is in huge need of people who already today, treat patients, and also who will be looking after people as many populations get older, right?
Older,
In a
yeah.
hospital environment or in a medical environment, luckily as well, it's supposed to help, but all the patient files are getting digitalized. When you see somebody, you're supposed to punch it in as well. You're supposed to do your orders. You're supposed to well, know obviously how all the machines work, and etc. So this is digitalization in the healthcare sector. So really, which skills? Well, all of those that are, basic to digital literacy, all of those that are relevant in the space that you're in. If you're a mechanic these days, well, the likelihood that you're going to go plug in some electrical machine, because many of the components of the car are electrical as well, is very high, right? So there's all of that, but then there's again the human, the being able to interpret what the machine is telling you, and then
Yeah.
the last one is being able then to use it as you collaborate with your peers and your colleagues. So basically,
So,
we all need to be superwoman and superman going forward.
and just be on in touch with what
Yeah,
is happening globally. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Thank you so
yeah.
much. One of the things that has increased in recent times is global talent mobility,
Yes.
talent moving across the globe. Now, what would, as a labor market expert, what would your advice be to HR leaders and HR professionals to effectively drive workforce across the globe? Because organizations now have people from all over the world sitting within their business. So for HR professionals, what should they be aware of, and how should they prepare to manage the new situation? Yeah.
Yeah, another great question, because it's true. That is one of the realities of today and the future world, right? I mean, organizations that are not ready and prepared to take on talent from all over the world, they will not make it. They will not make it, one, because they're not going to be able to source all the talent locally. It's just, again, because of the scarcity, it will not be possible,
Scarcity, yes.
right? Two, they're actually going to lose out hugely because of diversity and inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We might talk about that as well today. But uh, you know, all the data, every research these days shows that organizations and businesses that have these multicultural teams as well are more efficient, they are more productive, they generate more growth. So it's in the interest of HR professionals to set up systems, right, where they foresee that talent from all over the world. Look, HR professionals know themselves that at the end of the day, what's key is the right contractual framework, and on that one, what I advise is HR experts to think about the full spectrum of contractual possibilities that are out there in the world, because there's not only the open-ended direct employment contract, right, which many people think is the nirvana. So you hire somebody for the company, and that person on top of it, even lives in the place where the work is taking place. Since COVID, we know that is that well, it's one of the ways of working and having a contract, but not the only one. So it's opening yourself as an HR expert and professional to having people with different types of contracts, flexible project. You absolutely need to have contracts for trainees, for interns, for apprentices. It's something every company and organization should do, is to invest, in young people, I guess, but also in people who are in training contracts. And there's more and more governments who actually support, who subsidize that. But there's also the whole world of freelancers, for example, right? And so to come back to global labor mobility, to me, it's people shifting around. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean that they all come from all over the place to where you are, but it's because they're moving. You actually need to be the one that goes and finds them where they are as well, because you may be from Lagos, but then you actually live in I don't know, where would you like to live if you're from Lagos? I mean, it's such a beautiful city, right? Maybe you want to go live in,
It's
what
with
should I
you
say?
in Brussels now. Assuming
In
I'm in the same
Athens.
Brussels now.
Okay, you could come to Brussels, of course, absolutely. But then you could actually work for a company that is somewhere else. So again, look at those big that varied space of contracts that are around. And as you see, I use the word contract, which means there's all the implications then as well of the legal requirements that come with a contract. Depending on what the contract is, what are the benefits you need to provide with that, what are the social security requirements that come with that contract, what are all the tax elements that come with that contract. All of these are basics that every HR expert who might listen in on us knows. But again, my message is just open your spectrum to different types of contracts out there.
Yeah, so it's time for HR professionals to be open, to be more global, open their minds
Oh
to
yeah.
happenings and culture, because it goes beyond just the contracts, but also being aware of the culture of
Oh yeah.
the people they're working with globally. If you're working with somebody in India, you need to be aware of the culture there, the social political situation there as well.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, the world, is a big village, but there's a lot of little houses there, right? And everybody, yeah, cooks different and eats different and at different times, and so absolutely, HR professionals these days, I think, have obviously a more complex job than ever, because you need to make all of this work somehow. But I also think a more exciting and interesting job, right?
Yes, yes. Okay. Quickly, recently I was looking at the World of Work report for 2022. And, one of the things that has happened that came with COVID is the increase in remote working. But that report actually says that remote working is not sustainable anymore. And we've been able to see it with certain CEOs of large corporations like Amazon and Apple, and even Tesla, saying that they don't want their employees to work remotely anymore. They've been clamoring for their employees to come back to the office. I mean, they have been come back to the office campaigns by these CEOs, because they believe that employees are less productive when they're working from home, and it's actually affecting their bottom line, it's hurting their business. So, as a policymaker, what would be your own recommendation for what's your take on this? Coming
Mm,
back to the office, is remote working really sustainable, and should people be forced to come back to work? As a policymaker,
yeah,
what's your take on it here?
right, right, right. Look, absolutely. Everybody 9 to 5, stuck in the cellar, at the workplace. That's it. That's the future. No, I mean, look, clearly, honestly, anybody who thinks that you can go back to that, I think, well, yeah, I don't know, well, delusional for sure. I like the fact that you asked me as a policymaker, because my quest, in my interaction with policymakers, is to create frameworks that offer the choice, right? Too many rules and regulations of governments are restrictive. You cannot do this, you cannot do that, you only have to do that. I don't believe that this is the right approach. I believe that you need to, again, create options where those businesses or organizations that opt for more remote, well, they are exactly at the same level and have the same, again, business conditions and environments than those businesses who decide, no, everybody needs to come back. So there shouldn't be, in a way, an incentive against or for the other, and there shouldn't be yeah, I guess, punishments in one direction. So this is the policymakers. I mean, maybe just in general, let's not forget, again, the media likes to pick up these great 2 3 examples. I mean, in general, what we see is uh, businesses and organizations are, and that's important, they're looking at who they are as a company, what their culture is, and they are adapting accordingly. And even more so, what we see most often is that within the businesses and the organizations, you have specific units or teams that are looking at how they organize themselves, right? And so, what's important now, and this is the difference to pre-COVID, is you can't take it for granted. So you need to actually, as an HR function as well, you need to be a partner in your organization to sit down and to think about, okay, what makes sense also in the context of our culture. So what I like is, we're saying basically flexibility. Actually, we think, and we don't agree with a loss in productivity. We don't see that confirmed. There are some studies that say that, but again, you have to differentiate. But what we say is, there's basically 3 moments where it makes sense for people to come together. One is for culture. So it's if you want to indeed transmit who you are as a business, right? Then it's better if people are together. It's better if you
Together,
can
yeah.
talk about the history of the company or the organization. It's better if you can, also create a common a bond. So that whole culture piece. The second is, well, collaboration. Just very simply. I mean, at some stage, things are more efficient if you have the people in the same place at the same time. That is just a given, right? But again, that needs to be organized and focused, and then it makes sense to have that. And that's why many businesses say, okay, well, once a week, I want everybody in, and that's when this happens, right?
Mm.
And then the third, it's the three C's: culture, collaboration. The third one is actually coaching. And this is where we see there's a big discussion around, young people who enter the labor market.
Mm.
It's actually for them important to be working with the people who teach them. So the learning path is completely different if you're alone, if you're obviously in a cafe somewhere, or yeah, just in general, having to apply all the techniques that might be given to you, but to be there with your coach, your mentor, your teacher is something else. And it's not only the young people, in leadership, at different levels of management, you need to be able to speak to the managers. You need to be able to see them. You need to be able to learn like that. And so for that part, it's again culture, collaboration, and coaching. When any of those three applies, we think that that in-person meetings are the best option. And for the rest, is set up what you think is best for your organization.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Recently, I think the question before the last, you talked about inclusiveness, either gender or age, or, I mean, we're having multi generations in the workforce
Yes.
now. You are the co founder of the boardroom, right? Which is
Yes.
focused on building the next generation of business leaders. My question is, what does leadership look like today? What are the qualities a business leader should have at this time?
Yeah, again, wow, you're asking all of these great questions, and thank you for picking up my engagement with the boardroom, which really focuses on one big topic, which is, I don't want to hear anymore anybody who says, "Oh, yes, we'd love to have a woman in a leadership position, but we don't know where they are." They don't come forward. That's not the experience I'm making. The experience I'm making is there's a lot of fantastic women, obviously, who are out there and they're ready and they're keen. And so what the boardroom does is it addresses this pipeline, right? It says, okay, here's the women, and so uh, 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 embrace them, take them. And of course, there's activities as well. Everybody can always benefit from uh, experiences with the others and from learning. And now it takes me to your question on leadership. What's the leadership required today? Well, again, to me, one of the first elements. No, actually, I'm going to say that as a second element. The second element to look at is, um, in what type of organization are you actually, right? And therefore, what is it that the organization by culture in a way needs to thrive and to grow, right? So in other words, if it's a very a structured, process oriented organization, if you come and you're more the coach style, laissez-faire leader, it might be a bit difficult, right? So you
Mm.
need to see what the culture of the organization is. What is clear to me, at least, and this is actually my first point, is honestly, if you're a leader these days, and what we look in leaders is that, first of all, I think they need to be a nice person. Be a nice person. Well, it's really obviously a human factor.
Be able to embrace all.
Yeah, I mean, come on. As a leader, you have the responsibility to, to have this care, to listen, and just to look after your people. I mean, I'm one of those. you need to grow wings, right? You need to support your people, not basically bog them down. But so yeah, and I think if I look around these days, there's a lot of talk around also with having to lead dispersed teams again. That's completely shifting the way that leaders have to approach their teams. So there's a lot of skills here that are needed around communication capabilities that many people didn't think about, and just really always checking in and aligning your people. So all of that is there. But again, uh, the notion maybe today of the servant leader, of one who's aware and listening and questioning what his people and what the organization needs, and who then says, okay, I'm putting myself at that disposal. This is something that I see is picking up a lot of impetus. And again, I think for many organizations, I think that would work, but not for all of them. But you can be a strong, almost autocratic leader, if I can say so. But if you're a good person, I think it can work. Be a
Okay.
good person.
Be a good person. So
Hmm.
your humanity should
Yeah,
come out as a
come
leader.
on.
It should come out first.
Exactly.
Because yes, people need to feel their leaders. I think gone are the days when you leaders are stern and stoic people. People need to feel, there must be that human touch with your leader, human feeling from your leader.
Absolutely. I mean, stern and stoic, that sounds more like a machine, right? That sounds more like,
Yes,
you know, and emotions are good, and just again caring. This is, I think, the direction that things are going. And it doesn't mean that it's not an attribute that a certain gender has more than another one. I
yeah,
am honestly, we're in the year 2023. I think we're beyond that.
okay.
Everybody has everything in them. And so it's also a matter of, do you as a person, do you actually finally make the decision that you want to be a good person? That's it
Yeah,
for me.
yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much. Now we're in the International Women's Month.
Yes.
What's your advice for women who are seeking for opportunities to be executives, to be board members and things, and aspire other to very senior positions? What advice would you give to them to enable them prepare
Yeah.
for these opportunities?
Yeah. All right. First, be a nice person. No. Look, my advice is, no, nobody can do it on their own, actually. So, um, get coaching, um, join indeed organizations or clubs that are going to help you. Ask for support. I think this is something that many are hesitant about. I think it's absolutely normal, and actually one of the things the boardroom, which convinced me when the founder approached me, he says, we're going to have our own clubhouse. And this is the typical thing. Men, well, they meet. I don't know. Now I'm going to be very stereotyped, right? They play
Yeah,
soccer and they go to the pub and they do this. But these are all also physical places, where they meet. And of course, the women join that too. But the idea here is, well, let's have a club, again, where the women meet. And this comes back to my point here about do that community aspect, right? You're not alone. To me, there's actually one big thing which maybe comes before that at the same time, but it's let people know that you want to be in an executive position. Let people know that you want to be on a board. We often have the assumption, others will notice, right? And somehow I will be approached. Mm, it's seldom the case. You actually need to just also give the signal, right, that you are ready for that, and that you are um, 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 that you have all
available.
competencies
Yeah.
and capabilities to do it. And you don't have to be in the way that you convey that message. You don't have to be sorry, are the children listening? You don't have to be a bitch, and you don't have to be this arrogant, hard
Yeah.
person. No,
Yeah.
you can just say, I mean,
Yeah.
I have the pleasure of mentoring and supporting young women, and very often, I mean, they're amazing profiles, and they're amazing people, and I tell them, look, you're a rock star. Oh well, I don't know, I'm not sure. Yes, you are. And it all goes with that. So for me, to answer your question, no silver bullet here, but it's give the signals that you have this ambition, be nice about it, and then go and create the network that will help you to get there.
Great. Fantastic. And one last question before we go.
Yes, I don't want
Yeah.
this.
Yes, you're a global executive on the world of work. So what's the future? What are the plans
Oh,
for the future of the world of work? What transformations are we looking out for? What shifts are we looking out for? Looking into your crystal ball, what do you
let me
see?
look at it. Oh, it
What do you
just
see is coming up in the nearest future
exactly,
so that we
exactly.
are prepared ahead?
Look, I'd like to say again, there's going to be plenty work, plenty jobs. So be excited about it. Go out today with this wild word web that we have at our disposal. There are so many opportunities. Um, Obviously, everybody talks about it. The learning. Make sure you stay curious. Make sure that you learn. Connect yourself with people that will get you far. And then the cliche as well: do something that gives you joy, because you will do better. You can go after the money, yes, but if you are in an industry that you think is, the wages are a bit different, go for it still. I think that's important. um Anything digital, I'll just confirm it. If you have that mindset, you're going to be doing well, because there's the digital and the green together. That's where the jobs of the future will lie, the competences of the future will lie.
Okay, for businesses, what should they be looking at? For businesses,
Businesses
business
need
owners,
to
yeah.
already now, they need to get their talent strategy right. They need to be sure that they know where to get the right people today, and they need to be sure, thinking 2 years, 3 years ahead, where the pipeline is of their future talent. And here, I said it earlier, I will repeat myself like a broken record 20 times: invest in talent, invest in bringing people in that you will have to train, and and upskill your own people too. This is not a cost. It is not a cost. It will benefit you. So if you think you can just go and basically pick people in the labor market, and then, like one-on-one,
Plug
place them
and
in the
play.
organization, plug and play, forget it. It might work 25% of the times, but for the rest, you will have to groom the talent for yourself. So, talent strategy and invest.
Yeah, getting your people right and retaining them, retention of talent.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Or, let them go. That's fine as well. But ideally, they will come back at some stage, and if they go and create value somewhere else, that's fine as well. That's good for the economy. That's good for the world. So it's an investment.
All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Bettina, for
Thank
your
you.
time. Indeed, we've had such a great time engaging you and picking from your expertise. I know that for everyone who is watching and would definitely watch the replay, they would find it valuable because you've dropped valuable information for us. Thank you so
I
much.
hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you again for having me, and we are in touch.
Yeah, so for anyone who wants to watch, the video will be available on YouTube. And let us just hear from you. If you have questions for Bettina, you can drop them. Be rest assured she would see them and she will definitely provide a response to them.
I
She's
will
an
do my best.
expert at it and she's readily available. Thank you once again, Bettina. I will definitely reach out to you very soon. Thank you,
Thank you
everyone, for
so much.
watching. Thank you. Right.
Be safe. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye.